Reverend Dr. Kamara Falade Bande Rawa. Okay, here we go. So this video, I'm coming back as I stated in my previous one about ancestor altars and ancestor veneration. And what I have noticed with blacks in the Western world, blacks in the African diaspora, is that because we have been so indoctrinated with religion, with Christianity, until we become self-aware and we undergo self-actualize, I'm going to say this word correctly, actualization, self-actualization, until we start engaging in self-actualization, we will consciously and even unconsciously, intentionally and unintentionally approach everything we do through the indoctrination of Christianity. Do your homework, because I'm always giving homework. Do your homework. Black people that are listening to me, pay attention to your life in a 24-hour period. And if you have come from the background of Christianity, you will realize that a lot, about 90%, maybe 95% of the things you do, maybe even 100%, depending on your background, your childhood within the church, the context in which the church has influenced you, indoctrinated you, religion has influenced you, indoctrinated you. It could be between 90% to 100%. Take out a 24-hour period and you'll see how the majority of your decisions, your thoughts are rooted in the indoctrination of religion through Christianity. Just do your homework. You're looking for a savior. Everything that you do, you're looking outside of yourself. You're looking for a savior, somebody to save you, somebody to take the burden off of your current shoulders or off of your shoulders currently. You engage in relationships because you're looking for a savior, someone to, like I said, take the burdens off of your life or relieve the burdens of your life. You're looking for things, objects to relieve stress, anxiety. You're thinking that things outside of yourself, if you just had this amount of money, or if you had this car, or if you were in this relationship, or if you lived here, things would be just better. Always looking outside of yourself. That comes from the indoctrination of religion, looking for a savior. And blacks here in the Western world approach ancestor veneration and ancestor altars in the same way. They approach spirituality here in the Western world in the same way. Now, unless you truly have a connection, like you have proximity to someone in your family who is still alive, and they are like generational workers, like generational root workers, generational spell workers, like they are actually still alive. You have proximity to them. You can sit at their feet. You can learn from them. You can observe from them. Most of us are first generation, like openly practicing and living this lifestyle. Most of us in the Western world, Most Black people are first generation. So unless you have that direct connection, you're in close proximity, you're approaching African spirituality, ancestor worship, not worship, ancestor veneration, ancestor altars from a westernized, religiously indoctrinated point of view. And you're looking for a savior. And what happens is that you get stuck. Not that I am against ancestor veneration, because it is important. It is important to remember those who came before you, the sacrifices that they made, the decisions that they made that, either benefited you or didn't benefit you, and how you can improve and make things better. I'm not against it. The ancestors are your first line of defense. They are the first line in the hierarchy of spirituality, as far as your resources, as far as the chain of command. However, I am very well aware of the way that Blacks in the Western world look at ancestor veneration versus how Africans look at it. Those that haven't even stepped on American soil. They are born, raised, live, die on the continent. It's totally different. When I did my dissertation, it was exploring African metaphysics versus Western metaphysics. And that is where my journey began, with critically analyzing or critically approaching ancestor veneration in Western society versus our brothers and sisters in the on the African continent. And I also realized that a lot of the things we do with spirituality, it has layers. It's under the guise of Christianity, and we don't want to admit it. We don't want to admit it. If Blacks really sat with themselves, they would realize that here in the Western world, we are approaching African spirituality, African traditional religions from a lens, a perspective of indoctrination, Christian indoctrination. Now I have a clarity about oh, that's good. I'm going to have to look into that. Then my ancestors have heretical autism. Oh, baby. I'm going to have to look into. I like that. Thank you. And thank you for everyone that's on here. Thank you. Hello. Interesting. I will keep that in my file folder of so many things that I need to research in life. Thank you everyone, and thank you for that comment. So here in America, Black people, just everything is so from the perspective of Christian indoctrination, everything. And now I understand why, or I have clarity of why when Blacks here in America decide to go through initiation, like Ifa initiation, and they do it, quote unquote, the correct way, I really get why I mean, they consult the Odu. I mean, they really, how do I put it? They follow the protocols, the systems, the what's the word I'm looking for? The layout, the protocols, the systems, the layout to a T. I get it now. I get why those who are truly, truly called to Ifa and truly, truly called to be initiated, I really get why they go hard in the paint, so to speak. Like they really follow the system of Ifa. They don't half step because it's really a sense, it's a way of them undoing the indoctrination of Christianity. Like you can really tell, or even Islam, depending on what religion you come from before you're initiated into Ifa. I really get like why they are so, I would say, ritualistic, or they really follow everything to a T. The I would, for lack of better words, the devoted, I was going to say the real from the fake, but the devoted Ifa uh students versus the ones who just did initiation because they thought it was the popular thing to do, and now their life is a living hell. So you can see the ones truly devoted to Ifa and the ones that are not. And I get it now. I get why, because it's to undo the indoctrination of whatever Western religion they are coming from. So when I look at ancestor veneration and ancestor acknowledgement from a Black perspective in America. So because I study and I read different things. So let's look at it. Let's look at it from the concept, and I said it before in my previous video, of reincarnation. And even in the Bible, it talks about reincarnation because people would encounter different prophets. They encountered Jesus and they were like, oh, is that Elijah or Elisha? So clearly reincarnation was a thing. It was a concept during biblical times, and it was quote unquote normal. It wasn't, I don't know where the church has gotten today where, oh, that's that new age stuff, when it's clearly in the Bible. So in the Bible, it gives instances of, people encountering Jesus or encountering some of the prophets or the disciples and thinking that they encountered the prophet Elijah or Elisha. I can't remember which one. I always get them confused. But either way, they are thinking that they have encountered a prophet that had already passed away. So clearly reincarnation was a thing. It was a concept, and nobody thought it was woo-woo during biblical times. So if we take that, if you believe in reincarnation, by the time, and I was telling my friend this as I was just working through my thoughts with him in conversation, by the time most Black people come under the spell or come out of the spell of religion and decide to begin the journey of spiritual self-actualization, their ancestors have already reincarnated. They already have reincarnated. So how are these ancestors helping you? They have, and according to Gnostic texts, If you look at Gnostic Christianity, if you study not Gnosticism, that they have already fell under the misleading of the archons and decided they needed to come back and redo this life again, and because they needed to work off karma. Now that's according to Gnostic Christianity. I'm going to present all different perspectives here. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to convert. I'm not here to convince. I'm just taking what I have studied and I'm asking questions. I'm just asking questions. It's not a debate. It's just a perspective, because at the end of the day, I'm learning that it's about going within. It's like Bashar says, all of these are just permission slips. They're just permission slips to help us understand occult and esoteric things, to help our human mind on this earth plane understand esoteric and occult concepts. So when you're talking about divination and you're talking about, if you're into quote unquote secret societies, Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, Eastern Stars, if you are Gnostic Christianity, if all of these things are just permission slips. And the whole goal, the entire goal, is for us to go within, that everything that we need is within. All of these things have just been teaching us to look outside of ourselves, to go outside of ourselves, when really everything we need is within. And that's just the history of religion. You cannot deny the history of religion. You cannot deny the historical facts. The religion was used, has been used, was used, is currently being used as a way to keep people asleep, and a way to keep people enslaved, and a way mentally, and a way to keep people not looking inside of themselves, always looking outside of themselves for the answer. It's a way of control, mental control. All right. You cannot deny what history has taught us and the facts about history when it comes to any religion, any religion. I'm only talking about Christianity because that's what I grew up in. Okay. So here we go. So if you look at Gnostic texts, Gnostic Christianity, and if you approach ancestor veneration from that point of view, and they, in the Gnostic form of Christianity, they believe that, when you die, the archons are misleading you and telling you, oh, you need to come back. You need to work off some karma. You need to work off some karmic debt. And you need to come back. And so people come back according to Gnostic texts. Okay. So if we approach it from that perspective, by the time Black people get to step one, which is venerating your ancestors, there's no ancestors to venerate, because according to Gnostic texts, they've already reincarnated. So how are they helping you? Because the great grandparent or the aunt or the uncle or the mom or the dad that you knew could now be a totally different race, a totally different gender, and live in a totally different city, state, country, and know nothing about you. So how are they helping you? Now, if we look at it like, okay, well, we're spirit and we never die, and a different version of you can exist in parallel universes. Now we're looking at quantum physics. So in that case, then, okay, ancestor veneration would be legit, because you're interacting with that version of that person that you knew. If you approach it from quantum physics and parallel universes, that you're interacting with the great grandparent that you knew. Although they may have come back and reincarnated, and they may be a 5-year-old Filipino. You're not interacting, according to quantum physics, you're not interacting with that version. You're interacting with the version that you knew as your great grandpa. So do you see? I'm just here to present to you, when you begin to study the different perspectives. So you have this ancestor altar, and it's like, okay, well, depending on what, which way you choose to go and believe in, are the ancestors really there at that altar? Who are you really venerating? Who are you really getting your help from? And if we look at it even deeper in the Western world, it has, we look at occult studies, and we realize that a lot, and we hear it. We hear when you take different classes or read different posts about people who are from people who are experts, quote unquote, in ancestor veneration, and they'll tell you that some ancestors, they need help, they need elevation. So that's why, they come to your altar, because you have light, you have the candles, the light, you have the food, you're speaking their name, you're remembering them. And so they're here to do the work for you, to do what it is that you need to do. And then you have those who will tell you that those who are very skilled in manipulating spirits, if you don't, because when you die, everybody are not elevated. Like they're roaming, and they're looking for a purpose. And so you have people who are very skilled in manipulating these spirits to come work for them, because their people haven't gotten to the point of venerating their ancestors. So you have your ancestors literally working for an entirely different family, an entirely different bloodline, because you may still be indoctrinated with religion. So now you're not helping elevate your ancestors. And then that leads me to the point of, really, you're doing more for your ancestors than they're doing for you, depending on their mind state when they passed away. So they're only going to help you on their level of awareness and knowledge that they were on before they passed away. So how are they really? So they're only going to help you on the level of knowledge that they were on before they passed away. So that means that they can help you maybe get a job. They can help you with money. Their level of helping you is very fundamental or very basic, because they were inundated with carnal things before they passed away. So that's what they're going to help you with. Now, unless you're able to unless you're able to connect with your more indigenous ancestors, those who have never left the continent, or you're able to tap into ancestral ancestors, or ancestors who have ascended, that you go way back in your bloodline and they have ascended, like they are what are considered ascended masters. You're able to tap in those ancestors. But if you're just dealing with the immediate bloodline, you're doing more for them than what they are doing for you. They are keeping you they're only going to help you at a very carnal, materialistic level, because that's what they knew. That's what they knew before they died. That is why you will see a lot of um, practitioners where they will keep, religious texts like the Bible on the altar and work with the Bible, because that's what their ancestors were doing before they died. And that's fine. And that's what they will help you with. But think about it. If all you're doing is approaching them based on how they were and what they liked when they were here, how do they ever elevate? How do they ever elevate? If you're interacting with your ancestors truly, 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 if you only interact with your ancestors truly on how they were when they were here, how do they ever elevate? And they're only going to keep you bound to these earthly material things, which leads me to hoodoo and root working. Most of the candle rituals I see, the community rituals I see with hoodoo and root working, it's all material. It's to sustain oppression, to keep you oppressed and tied down to this earthly realm. Most people go to root workers for, in the context of what I'm talking about, go to black hoodoo worker or black hoodoo practitioners and root workers for money, and for money, for relationships. They very rarely go for their children. I can count on one hand. I've been doing divination in the form of readings since for 10 years, almost 12 years. No, 12 years. 12 years. 12 years. Because in a couple days, it's going to be 2026 according to the Gregorian calendar. So for 12 years, I have been doing divination through the use of cards, and I can count on one hand. And I still have fingers left over of people who have come to me for readings about their children because they don't care about their children. They are coming for readings for money, for love, about the boyfriend, the girlfriend. What is he thinking about me? What is his intentions? Some may come about career. I have some that come about their life purpose and their divine assignment, but most of the time it's for material things. Very rarely are they coming because they want some energetic cleansing, um, to help balance out their nervous system, to help balance out their chakras. Very rarely coming to get to the root of things that are occurring in their life. They're very rarely coming for things like that. And even with hoodoo root working and spell work, candle working, it's all about money, and relationships. Let me get this house. Let me get this car. Let me get this promotion. Let me get this raise. I need some extra money for Christmas. Very rarely are people coming for true healing, true mental, emotional, spiritual healing. They want quick fixes. They don't want to get to the root of their money problems. Just do this spell so I can get some quick money coming in. Never once can you do this spell and this root working to help change my mindset about money, to help change the generational beliefs that I've accumulated and I've that's embedded in me about money. Never once do they ask that. You may get a road opener, every once in a while to help clear the blocks in your roads, in your path. But it's not sustained. They get what they want and then they keep going. And they keep coming back to the root workers like it's a drug, just like church, just like Christianity. You get your hit every Sunday, you get your dopamine hit, and you keep going. I go to the root worker and I get my dopamine hit, and then I keep going. Then I keep going back when I need another dopamine hit. And hoodoo in the Western world has become so commercialized. It's become a drug and producing addicts. Instead of looking at it from an alchemy point of view, from a metaphysical point of view. When I did my dissertation, I looked at African metaphysics. And the end game to my dissertation was those of us who are, in the African diaspora, we have to go through, we could go through hoodoo, we could go through what did I talk about? I talked about hoodoo in my dissertation. I talked about spiritualist church that approach it through Christianity, but it's more spiritual. The spiritualist churches. I talked about Kemetic spirituality. Those were the three things that I discussed in my dissertation about how Black people here in the African diaspora, we can use one of those three methods in order to get us to metaphysics. And I also talked about ancestor veneration to get us to the point of metaphysics where you don't even need those things. You realize that you are one with the source. Because when you are on the continent, they do consult they do have divination. They do consult the Odu and the Ori and the ancestors. But that's it. They don't have all that other stuff that we have here. They don't have all of that on the continent. And that is the downfall. I would say that is going to be the downfall of Black people in America, because we're so caught up on the trinkets, on the permission slips, as Bashar would say, of connecting with the divine. And that's okay when you're first starting out. But the goal is to know that you go within, even with African, those that are truly connected to the continent, like live, breathe, work on the continent, born on the continent. They immediately when someone dies, they don't put them on the altar. They wait a year. It's a ritual that they have to undergo before they even put the person on the altar. And then after the year, they still have to go through systems and processes and rituals before the person is even placed on the altar. They do readings, divinations to see whether that person is even worthy enough of being on the altar. We don't do that here in America. We think that immediately when they die, they're an ancestor. No. And we think that everybody is an ancestor. No, they're not. Everybody in your bloodline is not for you. And some of them have died and went to realms and places that they may never get out of. Or they sold their soul during this lifetime and you don't even have access to them anyway. You think you do, but you don't. They sold their soul in this lifetime and they didn't do the work before they died. So why are you even putting them on your altar? They're doing nothing for you. I'm just giving you something to think about because it's about growing and elevating. And what I'm seeing now, and really I've always seen it, it's just that when you become aware and you ask questions and you open your eyes to a different perspective, you see things differently. And you are given the information when you're supposed to get it. Am I saying that you shouldn't do ancestor veneration? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. It's a step in the process. As long as we're black people here, African Americans, quote unquote, here in this Western world, these are the steps that we must take. Because if you skip the steps in the process, you're going to overload the circuit. And that's when you get people, unfortunately, who have psychotic breaks because they get information too soon that their nervous system and that their body isn't ready for. Their energy field, their energetic body isn't ready for. And then they have psychotic breaks. So I believe that because we're over here in the Western world, these steps are necessary. But we are not to stay there. Remember, our ancestors are looking at us to elevate. The ones that have passed on, they admire us. They're looking at us and because they're seeing it from a different perspective. Remember, they're in spirit form. If they haven't chosen, quote unquote, to reincarnate and come back and do it again, if they're still there in the spirit realm where we have access to them, and that's if you approach it from that perspective. Um, but if we have access to them, they're looking at us and they're seeing all of the things that are available. There are no limits in the spirit realm. So they're looking at us like, yes, keep going, keep growing. And the things that have come to my mind definitely are coming from ancestors who are or my ancestors who are on a different plane. They are not my immediate line of ancestors. I'll be quite frank with you. My immediate family ancestors, there's nothing there. They have long gone. I feel like most of them, if not all of them, have long gone and they are already back here on earth and have reincarnated. So if I approach it from a quantum physics point of view, I'm interacting with the version of them that were here and just elevating them so that they can get to a higher level of dimension. Or if I'm looking at it from reincarnation, it's nothing I can do for them. They've already reincarnated and it's nothing that they can do for me. At this point, I'm dealing with ancestors who are probably, as we would label them, ascended masters. These are like generations back that I've never met physically, but they were into occultism. They were into esotericism. They were into magic. These are the ones that I'm interacting with. Like I said, I don't even have pictures of them, but I've connected to them in spirit and in the realms in which they exist in. These are the ones I'm dealing with. I know I'm not dealing with my immediate ancestors because they're not on this level. They were on the level of Christianity, and that's fine. That's fine. So when I want to read the Bible and, when I want to listen to a sermon, Oh, they'll be right there to, give me enlightenment about what I'm listening to. That's fine. That's their role. But eventually we got to grow. We got to get beyond, the immediate ancestors. And that's where our work gets stuck. Our work gets stuck there. And we sustain oppression with our candle working, our root working. We sustain oppression. Because think about it, we are doing things, we are constantly coming to the root worker to get out of this loop of being poor, of not having enough money, of fix my relationship, keep him here. So he don't like any other women. Keep him with me. Bring my specific person back. Even with affirmations and subliminals, it's to maintain oppression. It's very rarely to get you to the God state, to get you to the 0 point. It's to maintain oppression. Even when we do like healing work, it's basically to heal physical ailments. But do we really get to the root of it? Maybe some people do, and it's just not advertised. What's being advertised or shown on social media is just for the people who are still on the carnal and appearances, but the real heavy work is done in private, and they have private clients and they're not, advertising that. Maybe that's the case. But hoodoo root work is not to sustain oppression. You're not just going to come to me because you having money problems. No, let's get to the root of it. Why are you having money problems? Let's change that energy. Let's clear up that energy blocking you. Let's go back to ancestral patterns that you're repeating. And that's why you keep having to come to me to do a role opener with your finances. You keep having to come to me to do money spells. When you really need to be doing the energetic working, the energetic cleansing. So you don't ever have to you don't ever have to do a money working again, because you've addressed the root of the problem. That's what hoodoo and root working is for. It's not to keep you oppressed. And a lot of what I'm seeing is just to maintain oppression. Is not to get to the root of the problem and to really free the captives, to set the captives free. I just want us to look at it from a different perspective and to start questioning our work. Start questioning our work, because hoodoo and spell work has become very commercialized. It has. Our ancestors they didn't have access to all of this. All of this wasn't available. But yet what they had at their disposal. One of the reasons why slavery doesn't exist is because of hoodoo work, is because of the root worker, is because of the medicine man and woman, is because of the shaman. And they didn't have entire botanicas to go to. So what happened? What happened between then and now? We have all of this stuff at our disposal, but yet we're still oppressed. We're more oppressed than they were. We are not overthrowing governments with our root work. We are not overthrowing systems with our root work. If anything, we're maintaining systems. We're maintaining oppression with our root work. We're maintaining our Black people staying on the hamster wheel. Take a breath. Cause I know that's heavy, because we want to think that we're doing something, but are we really? Are we really? Something to think about. At least it's getting me to think and to pivot and to really get back to the essence of root work and occultism. Because if you look at quote unquote the secret societies, they use their magic, their occultism, their studies, their metaphysical studies, their occult studies, their exoteric studies. They use it to maintain the institutions that we see here in America. All of the institutions that we see here in America is sustained through occultism, metaphysics, Western metaphysics. That's what they use their working for, their studies and their magic for, and their rituals for. And it's time for us, and that's why we're losing in this spiritual warfare. That's why we're losing. Because we're using ours to just maintain the status quo. We're not doing alchemy. We're not doing alchemy. We're doing magic, but we're not doing alchemy. Those in certain levels of society, that work in these institutions, they're doing alchemy. They're not doing magic. It's a difference. All right. So that's it. That's all. That's it. That's all. I'm not saying that we should not venerate our ancestors, because they are our first line of defense in the hierarchy chain of command. But eventually we got to grow. People, we got to grow. Think about the Matrix. Everything was mental in the Matrix. If you watch the movie The Matrix, everything was mental. Even the Oracle, even the Oracle, she was mental. She didn't sit down at the table with Neo, and at least I don't recall in the movie, she didn't sit down with Neo at the table and pull out a deck of cards. She was an oracle because she knew how to tap in to receive the messages mentally. Telekinesis, moving objects with your mind. Fire starters. Stephen King had a whole book, an entire book about, people being able to just start fires just by focusing their mind and their energy on an object or a person. It's all mental. Eventually, the next generation will look at what we're doing and think it's archaic, because they will be able to do it with their minds. And that's what we're supposed to do. It's supposed to get to that point. It's supposed to get to that point. They're supposed to grow and evolve and look at what we're doing and look at it as being archaic. That's the whole point of this. All of these things are okay. They're fine. I use them. They're okay. They are okay. But they're just permission slips. They're just symbols. You really don't need them. Go within. Go within. The answer is within. Everything is within. All you have to do, you don't even have to make a request. You make a command. You call on the divinity within you, and immediately you get results. Once you know where you come from and who you are a representation of. Yes, these are stepping stones. Yes, it's part of the process. Just like I believe religion is part of the process. I think everybody needs to have that experience in some way, shape, or form. But you are not to stay there. It's all about growing and evolving. And on a side note, today is the 30th. If you are, here's a way to approach your new year 2026 if you're into numerology, which is just it's just a permission slip. But since we're here and we're experiencing this earth plane, numerology, and actually numbers do run the world. Numbers do run the world. Or run this particular planet anyway. So while we're here, we might as well use the systems that are in place. But I just want you to have it clarity and awareness that you don't stop here. It doesn't end here. This is not the end all be all. But while you're here, use the systems that are in place. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The point of me saying all this is that use the systems that we have here. The divination systems, the numerology systems, the astronomy systems, the astrological systems, the elemental systems, all of these things that we have here, alchemy, metaphysics, all of these things that we have, we need to be using them to overcome, to overthrow, to eliminate, to disassemble oppression. If we're going to use it, it is to eradicate oppression, mental oppression, emotional oppression, financial oppression, psychological oppression, spiritual oppression. It is to eliminate, eradicate oppression on every level, energetic oppression. That's what we should be using it for, not to sustain oppression. And if we're really honest with ourselves, a lot of us are using these systems that are in place to sustain oppression. So on a side note, I want to say that as you prepare for 2026 according to the Gregorian calendar, and I'm about to tell y'all, I just had a quantum moment before I tell you how to prepare for 2026 using the systems in place. It is December 30th, 2026, Tuesday, right? Eastern Standard Time. It's winter. It's winter. While I'm recording this video, I swear to you, I felt like it was springtime and I heard the birds chirping. It felt like it was like March or April, although it is December. I swear to you, I felt like I was in March or April. And I felt like I was hearing the birds chirp. And I could smell what it smells like when we're on the verge of springtime. I swear to you, I just had that moment. I'm telling you, time is an illusion and it's collapsing itself, or I'm on the verge of quantum jumping. I'm telling you what I just experienced. And it's the dead of winter here where I'm at. It's only like probably 8 degrees outside. I cannot make this stuff up. I cannot make this stuff up. But anyway, for 2026, numerology. The best thing that you can do, the most effective thing that you can do is to get your personal year. Know what personal year you're in for 2026. That will help you be way more focused for 2026. That way you'll avoid making goals and creating resolutions that don't even vibrate to your personal year number. And to get your personal year number, you add the month of your birth. Wait, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Because, okay, you add the month of your birth plus the day of your birth plus the current year. So 2026 is a 1 year. When you add the 4 digits together and reduce it to a single digit, the results is a 1, okay? So you take your month, the month in which you were born, you add that to the day in which you were born, and you add it to 2026. And I've already done the math for you. 2026 is a 1 year. So you're going to add the month in which you were born, the day in which you were born to the number 1. You're going to add those 3 digits together and reduce it to a single digit if it does not already, if the sum of it is, if the sum of those numbers is not already a single digit, you got to reduce it to a single digit. And that is your personal year. That's your personal year number for 2026. I'm here to tell you that will make way more sense to you and will give you a foundation and a guide and a blueprint to how your 2026 will go versus anything else. That will help you focus and help you come up with a plan for 2026. You don't even need to go get your cards done, go to an oracle, do a tarot reading, oracle card reading. You don't even need none of that. Now, those of you in E5, it may be something total. It is something. It ain't no maybe. It's something totally different, and you have to adhere to the systems of E5. But those of you who are not initiated into any type of African traditional religion or system, a simple way to be more targeted and intentional for the new year is just to know what your personal year number is. That way you're not fighting against the grain. You already know, okay, this is, even though it's not the end all be all, you have a foundation of what to expect for 2026, and you can now plan your year accordingly. You're just not out here willy-nilly and just picking some things to do for 2026, and it is going against your numerology. It's going against your personal year number. These systems are in place for a reason. As long as we're here on planet Earth, and as long as we have these systems, they are here to help guide us. They are here to help make our journey less stressful. They're not here for us to get stuck in and never grow and evolve, but they are here to help us in our path, or on our path to elevation. So use them. They are here to help break the chains of oppression. And that's what they need. That's what they need to be used for. Not to keep us oppressed, but to break the chains of oppression and to help us grow and elevate. So use numerology for that reason. Get your personal year number. Figure it out. Watch videos on it. Read some books on it. Read some articles on it. And then that will help you to plan your 2026. And it's nothing demonic about that. It's nothing witchcraft and new age about it. Do you realize in the Bible, there is an entire book called the Book of Numbers? And it's all about numbers. So it's nothing demonic about numerology. There is an entire book in the Bible called the Book of Numbers. And I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for everyone that came on and that listened. Remember, I'm not here to convert or convince. I'm just here to present a perspective. You can take it or leave it. Doesn't matter to me. You can agree or disagree. My day is still going to be insightful. And my day, I'm still going to grow and elevate. I don't take nothing personal. I'll read the comments and I'm like, oh, I might laugh, have a good laugh, and keep it moving. Or I might go and do some more research because you got me thinking. But it's never personal. It's always spiritual. And it's always about elevation. Thank you for everybody that liked it, everybody that shares it, everybody that, my new subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. And remember, it's not about converting. It's not about convincing. It's just a perspective. That's all it is. That's all it is. All it is. And then let's see, what did this person say? Bro, you making some weird points. You on some that Holy Ghost shrooms. Ha! And you know what's interesting? I really do want to have an ayahuasca experience. I have never had one. I have never done any type of, I have never smoked weed. I've never done mushrooms. I've never done any psychedelic at all. The most I've done, if you want to call it like a mind altering thing besides meditation, is and besides like affirmations and subliminals, because those are mind altering things, is probably some tea, maybe some mugwort tea. This year I want to do what is it? I want to get some lotus tea. That is the most I've ever done. But I do want to have an ayahuasca experience. I want to go to someone who is legit, and I'm going to be in a very safe space having the experience. But I do want to do that. I do. But no, I have not engaged in any mind altering substances except for subliminals. I do sleep with subliminals. So, yeah. But thanks for the comments. Thanks for the engagement and interaction. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay grateful and stay aware.